But it was clear to me that everything starts with the relationship between the parents. I can see a child every week, they go back to the same dynamic, they go back to the same relationships. I can take a child only, there is a ceiling glass. When I work with the parents, when I give parents tools, when I help parents to see what they project on the child, and it's not about the child, it's about the relationship. I think that some people maybe have doubts that therapy will help, or fear, or panic, or embarrassment. I also found sometimes the person who is keen to come to therapy believes that the fault is in the partner, and they are less open to look at their contribution. And actually, I found their partners, that so-called, as you said, relocated to come, much more open. They do have a strong relationship with friends, with communities. They are, they come as a second one, so they are resilient. There are many other qualities, but in the family, it's interesting.
Welcome to How to Have Extraordinary Relationships podcast. I am delighted to be here with Dr. Kalanit Ben-Ari. She is a traveled international speaker. She's an imago therapist, that's couples therapy. She's a sort of supremo in imago. She trains people, she's trained me, she's traveled all around the world. She's a wonderful, wonderful couples therapist, and she's just had some amazing news which we're allowed which we'll get into in a minute. So welcome, Kalanit, and thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you. My absolutely pleasure. Thank you.
So let's start with your news, because it's so huge and it's so big. And by when this podcast goes out, I think you'll already be filming. So do you want to share with us what's happened?
Yes, I'm joining the relationship experts in the Marriage at First Sight in Israel, which I'm super excited about. I already started the project, and the filming will be during the summer. So yes, busy time, but very exciting.
It's going to be busy, isn't it? So at the moment, how is your work? Because you do a lot of work with parents and children. You do a lot of work with couples, obviously. You're also doing some workshops on siblings, and you're doing an 8-week course for helping people have love and connection. So how is your working life now? Where's your interests lying?
I think that it's mainly everything comes to working with couples. Also, when I work with individuals or parents, at the end of the day, it's something around the couple's dynamic and how we show up and our growth, and how we need to grow and heal in our relationships with our beloved one, that impact everything, impact the parenting, impact how we show up at work. So I think everything is around the couple.
And
I'm also teaching therapist, as you said, and other things.
not just in imago therapy.
Not only, yes, I'm teaching to work with trauma and many other things, yes.
So what brought you into couples work? Because it's different. It's different couples work to individual work, isn't it?
Yes, I have the professional reasons and the personal reasons. I will share both. I think professionally it's a different pace, and it's for me it's more interesting, captivating. With one individual clients, you're colluded with their story. When you work with couples, you cannot be colluded with one story, because very quickly you will have the contra, the other person. So you need to be quick in the way that you think, in the way that you intervene. I love it, because it keep me on the edge and keep me focused. Personally, my parents started a divorce process when I was 16 years old. It was 4 years of a too long and too painful divorce process. And as a teenager, you learn one or two things about what you don't want to have in your relationship. And later on, when I started my professional studying and career, I study actually childhood, children and adolescent development, and working with children and adolescents. But it was clear to me that everything starts with the relationship between the parents. I can see a child every week, they go back to the same dynamic, they go back to the same relationships. I can take a child only, there is a ceiling glass. When I work with the parents, when I give parents the tools, when I help parents to see what they project on the child, and it's not about the child, it's about the relationship. This is, I think, where a deep work and transformation happen. So I think from personal reasons, knowing when I started learning and studying therapy, if I don't want to repeat the mistakes that my parents did, which obviously on some levels we do because it's unconscious, I want to develop, to devote my life to that. And I really studied with the best people in the field all around the world. Hoping to bring it to my own home, sometimes with more success than others. We are all human. Don't believe the people who tells you, oh, everything is great here. No, everyone have their times of conflicts and disagreement. But having all the tools and train my brain with all the tools, how to reconnect, how to repair, how to move on, how to forgive, hopefully giving my children, a teenager now, a better model for themselves.
That's so inspiring. So at 16, your parents separated and it was
They separated totally when I was 20.
And what happened for you in that time? I mean, you're saying you recognized there were things that you didn't want to repeat.
Yes, I became, I think, very fighter. I was actually very shy child. Um, and I think that in that process, it's also, I grew up in Israel. I moved to the UK 2004, 21 years ago. And in Israel, it's compulsory to be in the army. So I think there I also find my voice. Um, but it started with the divorce process and then going away from home and coming back. I become much more aware of what I want and don't want. I was aware of that my voice is important. I really remember telling my mom, no, you need to say that. No, you don't need to accept that. Really, much more fire in me compared to before that. It was really the shy person, the one that doesn't speak, and something shifted there.
That makes you, because I mean, you travel the world, you train people,
Oh, yes, I can give lectures to hundreds of people. I don't have any problems with stage anxiety or things like that. It's quite different than how I was as a child.
yes. So when couples come to you, what are the main problems that you find? What comes into your therapy room?
There is the conscious level, the unconscious level. The conscious level, people come with their argument or reasons. On unconscious levels, there is really a rupture of the unspoken agreement, maybe that they had before. So on conscious level, some people will come and they have argument about how to discipline their children, maybe about sex. One of them wants more than the other, or problems around sexuality or intimacy. Can be in-laws problems. It can be around work-life balance, not being present. Can be about finance. So we have a few reasons why we know that couples come. But on a more emotional level, we try to see what is underneath that and what was the source of the rupture in the connection. What went wrong and when, what are the longing, and give them really the language to speak their heart, not their defensive reaction to the hurt and to the suffering.
And do people come in because of betrayals and affairs? I mean,
Definitely a lot, many
Yes,
many people, and a couples comes to therapy a little bit after they waited. There is the saying that if someone feels a pain in their heart, physical pain, serious pain, it takes them on average 4 hours to call 999.
really?
Yes, 4 hours. They suffering, they know something is wrong, and they said, oh, it's nothing, it will go. It was 4 hours. And with relationship, on average, couples know something is painful, something doesn't work. They suffer. On average, it takes them 7 years to reach out for therapy.
7 years.
7 years. So yes, then you might say affair started or someone drifted away in different ways, but Usually the rupture and the connection happen before that.
How do you work with that then? I mean, sometimes, I mean, I imagine people come into your room and they're miles apart. I mean, I don't just mean physically, emotionally, and they're a bit calcified, you know what I mean? You know, they've got very set, and you've done, you know, with affairs, I find people are like, well, you're the bad person and I'm the good person. You had the affair and you're the bad person and I'm the good person.
I will help them to look at this differently. First of all, I think that couples that come to therapy, they want something different. They have longing for connection and they want to work on the relationship. I see it as a strength. You need lots of courage to come to therapy and to do that inner work. And I will say to that couple, sometimes I won't say it straight away. Not everyone can hear it if they're just in the trauma. But after I establish a little bit safety, with the couple, I will say, you both created a space between you that was maybe a void or too much space that allowed someone else to come in. So we are taking responsibility for us creating, both of us created space between us for a third person to come in. One of you is responsible for acting out.
Mm,
So this is different way to talk about this. Okay, so we can look about the repair of the pain of the betrayal, which is a trauma in the relationship. And this is a work around rebuild trust, forgiveness, and many, many other things that we need to discuss and to understand before we let go. But also I want to look at the relationship before the betrayal
mm,
and how both of us, or both of you as a couple, for them to say both of us contributed.
mm,
And if both of them can say, this is how I contributed to have space between us, and they can start to take ownership on what happened before they first started.
mm,
And one of them will need to take responsibility the way they acted out, and they will need to really show lots of willingness to repair and to build trust and to be patient with the pain. Because usually that person would like to move on to say, okay, but I ended it and it's like,
no,
and the
that's
other one is still wants to be in the pain and to speak about that. So it's a lot of patience. I can tell you working with the couples more than I think around 25 years. Couples that are committed to that process after affair, it's not a quick fix. I will have, manage the expectations. But couples who have the courage to go into that path live the relationship with much stronger and more meaningful and connected relationship. They are not going to recover what was before. What was before is gone. It
mm,
was not good enough for what they want.
mm.
But it's a journey to take. There is no quick fix here.
That is so right that the person, in my experience with couples, the person that had the affair and has finished the affair very much wants to say, it's done, I've apologized, I can't apologize more. The other person's like a dog with a bone. They kind of need something, don't they? But why? They
Yes,
can't stop. It's like they keep, it's like scratch, it's like picking at a wound. What?
yeah. But it's not about I cannot say sorry anymore. It's not about that because they need to take the responsibility to rebuild trust. And how we rebuild trust emotionally, being present with the pain of the partner because something we did. And I
Mm,
will tell that person, you need to want to listen to her pain
right.
because this is how you are going to build trust. You need to really want it. I know it's difficult. I will give you the tools. Um, we will make it safe, but you need to want it because this is what you will bring the trust into the repair. And for the other person, it will be to balance the time that we are talking about, the present, the past, the future. Okay, so we want to balance not only to speak about the past, but also to appreciate what is going on right now and also jump into the vision of the future and then go back to the past and to speak about the health. So we want to play with that as well.
So
Does
how?
it make sense?
Yes, it does, and it's hard. I like this thing of they have to want to sit with the pain of this
Yeah.
person.
Yes, and to have the tools how to do it. And I will say to that person, now don't take you don't need to apologize. You don't need to take responsibility. You need to be with him or her, depending gender and the sex, to be able to hear the pain. And after they have a piece like that and they see, everyone is still alive, the ceiling is still here, they feel more capable of doing that. And the more they will do that, the less panic the partner who needs to share their pain will feel. Because many times they want to share the pain because they feel that they are not heard. Their pain, there is no room. But once you give a room, something in their nerve system relaxes, and then they are able also to see the positive and the courage. But I will. At first, it's a complicated piece because it depended if it was one-off, if it was long-term, if it was emotional or physical or both. I have so many trainings about that, so there's exceptions for everything that I will say here. Yeah. I don't want to simplify it as one solution fit all. If people are listening, it will be very, very specific for if it was, for example, a shared by the partner who had the affair.
It was what?
If it was shared, the secret was shared, not what was not discovered. So it's also it's a show of commitment. Okay, as much as it was painful to hear your partner says that they hate something with someone else, it shows their commitment to your relationship rather than to the relationship with the third person.
Yes.
Because we are always closer to the person we are having secret with.
Yes, because that's the bit, isn't it?
That's the bit. Yeah.
So once the secret is exposed or you've told someone something, it's no longer a secret.
It's no longer a secret, yes. There will be things that you will keep to yourself privately. Yes. I don't believe that, it's really needed to say all the positions that you had together or things like that. It's like just toxic in your mind for the partner, but it's not a secret. It's privacy.
When couples come through the door into your practice, are there times when you get to the point of thinking this couple aren't like no, they're just they're just they've got to the end of their journey, they've run their course?
Not really, and I will tell you why. First of all, because they came, they reach out. With me, it's usually waiting a few months or years in the waiting list. So I know that they have lots of willingness. But if they are coming and they are really in this regulated position, I will see them as both people with lots of pain. And they just don't have the tools. They don't know how. And it might be that one of them did a little bit more work than the other. So it's maybe unbalanced. But if people are not doing the work about themselves, about the relationship, even if they decide, I'm not there to hold the relationship, I'm not the glue. If they are not doing the work now, they will leave this relationship, will fall in love with a similar pattern or exactly the opposite, which will bring them to the same conflict. So for me, let's do the work with what is, and the growth will happen. And if the growth will mean I love you as a person, it's not right for me anymore. I understand things about myself. It's not with the bitterness. It's not with the toxic. It's not with so much strong, intensive emotions. Like with peace. Good that you came to therapy, so you can let go with peace, with no regret, knowing that you did your best. So you move on to the next relationship in a better understanding of yourself and more emotional maturity and emotional maybe intelligence to attract someone that will fit. But if you are together, this is your journey now. Your reality brings you exactly what you need to grow in yourself. So this is how I will look at that rather than, oh my God, this is not going to work. They will decide. I did have that thought in the start of my career, but then couples keep surprising me. The one that came with so much conflict when they were 100% committed, actually, they made changes much more quicker than those who came for something like so-called not a big deal.
Yes.
So I hold the hope.
You're holding that space of hope.
Yes.
Let's see what's happening here.
Yes, to help them to bring the unconscious to the conscious minds and to make all the decisions from a conscious as much as possible. We know what we know. Yes, we don't know what we don't know. As much as possible from a conscious mind to know what is their story and everything here. Some people are really triggering partners, provoking partners, and they are not aware that
Ah,
something in them provoking.
they don't know
Eh,
that.
they don't know that about themselves. No.
Yes, I always find it quite interesting when couples don't know, as I say with couples, there's a whole realm of stuff you probably don't know about each other.
Yes, and the more you're together, the more you don't know.
How does that work?
Exactly, like because the more you together, you think that you know, and then you think that you can complete their sentences, and this is the danger zone.
Mm.
Because the more you know, the more you don't know, because you have less curiosity to check in what you think you know,
Mhm.
and then your partner slowly, slowly disappearing into your ego rather than who they really are. And sometimes from that place also a fear starts. Oh, she thinks they know about everything about me here. This is they don't know. It's like escaping the trap, but we don't know. We don't know. And I'm in the business for so long. I did the supervision therapy, name it, I did it. I don't fully know myself.
Mm.
How I can be arrogant and think that I know my partner because I'm with him 22, 23 years. I'm with myself much longer and I don't fully know myself.
I think that's very
Mm.
interesting because there's a lot of language around, knowing ourselves and our truth, and no one will love us unless we love ourselves. And I find that language quite difficult.
Mm. Yeah. I remember a few years ago in our anniversary with my husband, I think it was 20 years that we were married, something like that, a few years ago. And in the card, I said that we always will keep not knowing each other and being that curiosity. And he didn't get it at start. He says, "But what do you mean? We are so long together, we know each other." He didn't know how to receive it. And then I needed to explain myself that if I think that I don't fully know myself, I cannot be arrogant and think that I know him. And we have so much depth in our thinking and our being. So the more we are showing up with curiosity rather than I knowing it's better. And from that perspective, he was able to receive it. Before that, I also saw that he says, "What do you mean? But we know each other." I said, "We still have so much to discover."
And that's exciting, isn't it?
It is, it is. And we are changing what we thought 10 years ago. It's not what we are thinking now.
Yes.
How we've been in any emotional, physical, mentally, sexually 20 years ago. It's not what's going on for us now. So to put the partner in the box, I know because 10 years ago you told me this, he have the options to change his mind.
Yes. Yes, you said this 10, you said that,
Yeah,
well, that was when we met, when we were 22, and when our
exactly.
30 years ago.
Exactly. Think about sex and sexuality. Yes, if people will keep having the same sex, how boring it will be.
So,
Yes, if you so boring, but people change.
yes. It's
Mm.
very deep, complicated work, isn't it? Because I like to say to couples, there's a whole new world out there for you.
Yeah,
Isn't that exciting that you can remain married but discover whole new parts of yourselves and your sex life and
yeah,
play and da 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 da.
yeah. It's like the ocean. You might be on the beach and you see the water, or you might be on a boat and you see a little bit more. But if you're on a boat, he will tell you draw the ocean only what you see. You see circle
Hmm.
around you. That's it. But we know there is more ocean than land. We know the depth. We know so much full of life underneath. We know that the more you go deep, the more quiet and still it is.
Mm.
So I think it's really like a relationship. You see the surface day by day. Take the children, bring the children, who is cooking what. It's not a circle of the ocean. There is so much more there. Only if you are curious enough to look.
So I know that in Imago, when we do the weekends, the Getting
Yes.
You got weekends. There's a dragger and a draggy. I remember Dr. Sophie Slade.
Yes, we are all doing that. Yes.
Do you still find that there's one person that like wants to go into therapy and the other person is a little bit more reluctant?
I will change how you say it. Yes, maybe one person wants to come over to therapy, but I don't see that the other one is reluctant. Okay? I think that some people maybe have doubts that therapy will help, or
Mm,
fear, or panic, or embarrassment.
mm.
I also found how to say it in a way because it's going to be recorded, but I also found that sometimes, here, this is the way to say it. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes the person who is keen to come to therapy believes that the fault is in the partner and they are less open to look at their contribution. And actually, I found their partners, that so-called, as you said, relocated to come, much more open to
Yes,
look at themselves, to make the changes. Um, so I see it slightly different.
yes, I get that because also you are doing this balancing act.
Yes.
Because if one person is like, we need to go to therapy because I'm right, and that lady therapist is going to be on my side, and of course that's not what you're doing as a therapist.
Yeah. Yes. And then sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes you see that actually that person have more challenge with looking at their behavior
Mm,
or what they need to change. Sometimes, not all the time. But people may be afraid from couple to therapy. I know many clients because they had very bad experiences as children. Maybe the parents sent them to therapist. The therapist said everything to the parents, or um, some experiences that were not good, connected, supportive, safe, or with any person of authority, a teacher, a counselor at school. So that kind of someone of authority that I need to share something very personal with me might be challenging,
mm,
rather than I don't want to do therapy, or the relationship is not important to me.
mm.
But I do trust and see that after the first session, they relax that defensive place and they see there is hope and they see that they can learn a different way of being together. And then there is a window and many times a big door that opens for curiosity.
So you're helping people communicate, really, aren't you?
I think the communication is the means, but I help people to be more in their heart and speak their heart.
Mm.
So to understand themselves better and then to speak themselves better.
Yeah, that sounds very moving.
And in that sense, I hope that I will help people to be more spontaneous.
Oh, how
Y-
does that work?
you know that there is the saying, I don't remember who said it, so I don't want to make mistakes, but it's definitely not mine, that being spontaneous, like with a play,
Mm.
being spontaneous, it's equivalent to well-being.
To well-being.
Yes, yes,
Mm.
for emotional well-being. So the more you are spontaneous, and you see children can play very easily. They are only in the present. They don't think what happened yesterday, what will happen tomorrow. They are really in the moment, and they can be very creative and spontaneous with the way. And when adults become more spontaneous, not spontaneous with their defensive reaction, not spontaneous with their anger and rage, but with playfulness, we can see that it will impact their well-being, the
That's
emotional well-being. Yeah. So I hope that this is what I do to recover that
yes, where people have a bit of freedom.
and fun, yes, and joy and connection with life again in a different way through the means of communicating what's going on for them.
I think that's so important because people, I think, see therapy as being like, oh, painful and sad and
Mm,
dredging up pain, and they feel worried. Oh my God, if I go into therapy, I'm going to have to feel all these feelings that I put away for so long, and I'm scared and I'm frightened. And
mhm.
so offering someone actually, there's also fun in this.
Yes. We, it's the center of the work.
Mm.
It's the center. We do need to look at the pain and the struggle, but once we release it, we recover something around our innocence and
Mm.
around the creativity and going back to what we were. I think therapy it's a remembering journey. Yes, because we were born full, and then slowly, slowly, the way that we grew up, we forgot. So it's a remembering journey in that aspect.
So when Margot starts with, yeah, we're born into joyful aliveness, doesn't it?
Yes,
That our
yes,
essence of being.
yes. And this is what we want to recover.
And what gets in the way of that? We're born into joyful aliveness and we end up being whatever age and we're no longer joyfully alive, right?
How long do we have, Lucy?
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's few things. There are some genetic preposition, but it will be on a spectrum. It's not black or white. So we come to this world with some potential. Obviously, the way that we were parented
Mm.
with our family of origin. Another piece, and the culture, school, and all the culture and social messages that we received. One thing that maybe received less attention in research and in therapy, it's also our location in the family between our siblings.
Ah,
So I think that this also is very, very important in the piece of who we become, who we fall in love with. So a lot about parenting and the relationship between the parents, how we saw modeling of love at home, what we saw between our parents, not only us and them, but between them. Obviously, attachment theory and other things that we won't have time to discuss. But also, if we have siblings, and if we don't as well, how that impact.
can you say a little bit more about that? It's interesting the work you're doing with siblings. I'm the
Yeah,
youngest of four, right?
you are the younger
Of four, yeah.
of four. Okay. I'm the middle one of three. I say I'm the frustrated one. There's so much interesting research about children, but not enough about how it shows up in relationship. But I can tell you from my clinical experience. So I teach parents how to work with siblings, rivalry, jealousy, conflict, and so on.
Mm,
Because this is the first playground
mm,
for us to negotiate, to understand fairness, to communicate, to understand love, forgiveness, all the things that we need in relationships.
mm,
If there was favorite at home, it will impact. There are lots and lots of things around siblings.
mm.
And what I found fascinating, it's the playback of that in the attraction with specific partners and with the relationship that we have with each other. One couple that comes to mind, it was so important for her to feel special. She
Mm.
needed to feel the special one, the special. And it was always the center of her work. And it felt sometimes that it doesn't matter how much her partner will give her. It was not enough. It was like a wound that it was so difficult to feel. She needed to feel it for herself. It was not only his responsibility just to say it out there. And the story was that in her family, she was also one of four, but she was not the youngest one. She was one of the middles. And she felt everyone were favorite, but not her. She was the lost one, the good girl, the one that will do well. The feeling special was important for her. Other places that I see that the firstborn,
Mm.
with all, there are a lot of research about qualities that we have as the firstborn, second, third, or the youngest one. And we can see sometimes that firstborns are falling in love with the youngers.
With the youngest.
Yes, in
Ah,
their partners. So the partners will be the youngest.
that's very interesting. Yeah.
Or that a favorite in one family will fall in love with someone who was not favorite in the other family. It's fascinating. You can see how the puzzle comes together and how we try unconsciously, in some cases, to repair something around the rupture that we had with our siblings, or just because the positioning or the way that we were parented around that. Does it make any sense? It's very clear in my head, but I'm not sure it's coming.
Total sense. I mean, I always think, I would say being youngest of four is wonderful because by the time it got, so on the one hand, by the time it got to me, it was great. Like no one, I was just scootering around having a great time.
And this is usually the story of the youngest.
Yeah, and being loved by my siblings
Yeah, yeah.
and having quite a lot of freedom.
Hmm.
You could translate that. I don't actually, but you could. I mean, some people might translate that as no one noticed me and no one was interested in me, but that it wasn't my experience.
No, not at all. And actually, we know that the first child, um, unconsciously, they hold most of their parents' unconscious expectations
Of course they do.
fall on the first child, and they are tend to be more serious, tend to be more leaders, tend to be more anxious some of the times. And by the third and fourth child, the child is much more free to be who they are. They usually much more with like a charm. And they have some freedom that is very attractive, because they are not holding the same unconscious expectations of the
Mhm.
parents.
Yes, totally.
Yes, and with the when there are three children, the middle one, which I encourage parents to say the centered one, to do some a little bit PR there that it's needed. They are usually a little bit lost because the first child made the parents parents and they have special place. The young one will always be the baby. Also, when they are 50, they will be the baby.
The
And
baby.
the little one needs to find their place there. And we know from research that the middle one are rarely the favorite for the parents, only if they are the only one in different sex, like two boys and one girl in the middle or the other way around, or if they have extraordinary talent.
Mm,
So there is something around the middle children that feels not seen or
mm, mm.
not centered around that which research support. They do have a stronger relationship with friends, with communities. They are, they come as a second one, so they are resilience. There are many other qualities, but in the family, it's interesting that
Very interesting.
yes, the position when you were born will impact.
Yeah, completely. So, I mean, people always think oh, they say you have to be in control, but actually, as a fourth youngest child, I'm very happy for other people to take responsibility. More than happy. I'm like, yeah, you do it. Tell
But
me.
this might be their challenge with you.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yes. That they need you to step up. They need you maybe to lead. It's like I
Mm,
don't know about relationship, but it might be. And especially in midlife, you will see the shift.
mm,
Like we fall in love with the older or the youngest because this was so attractive. As you know, it fulfills something in our unconscious.
mm,
But in midlife, you will see shift, and that contract doesn't work anymore. And one will need the other maybe to step up more, to take more responsibility, or one will need the other to relax a little bit more, or to shift. In long-term relationship, something that people are coping with might be related to their position in the family.
mm. So, is all this going to come into your work in Married at First Sight? Just because,
Mm.
what will you be doing on Married at First Sight?
First of all, I would like to say that the Israeli format, it's very real. I glanced a little bit about other countries, I won't say which,
Mm,
and they are very stage and very reality. The Israeli one is very different. It's not stagey. They don't tell people what to say. They don't film something twice. It's real. There is no so much drama as I saw in other countries.
mm,
It's really it's real couples, real conversations. They don't receive like tasks to do things to create more viewers. It's not that style.
mm,
Um, so part of it is to learn and to interview and to have meetings with all the candidates at the start, which I already am doing for the last month. And then even second and third meetings to really know them on all levels as much as possible. They are doing lots of tests and questionnaires and things like that. So me and my two amazing colleagues there that they are doing this for many years, I'm the new one, we'll think together. Each one brings the couples that we think, and then we decide together.
Yeah,
During the show, it's really to support them with individual therapy and couple therapy.
it's going to be
So
fascinating.
we will do both of them. And depending on the couples, we will see what we will work on. I don't have the answers because I don't know who they will be. But it might look very different. You know, a therapy that I will do with one couple might look so different than another couple.
Mm. It's going to be, you're going to be a superstar.
I'm not sure about that, but maybe I feel grateful not to live in the country that it will be shown because I think it's good to have some distance from, after it's on the television, to have some distance from being known.
And how do you balance your time? Because you've got brain spotting, you're doing courses, you've got, you're doing it's awakening to love. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you're doing, and this is going to bring an extra dimension. How do you keep yourself sane? How do you kind of make it all work?
I think that with trainings, I'm a curious person. So when there is something that I see there is research that works with people, that helps, I train myself. I go to training and I'm certified, and then I use it with therapy. So people don't know exactly maybe which techniques I will use because I integrated things. So it's not necessarily that, oh, I'm doing burn spotting and it's with the
Okay.
same client. It will be with the same client. And I see sometimes it really, I'm very free spirit and creative in the way that I'm thinking. So I did the retreat, which was one of the highlights of my career 2 years ago. I for sure will do another one, but it was 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. Now, when this project takes over, so I reduced the time that I'm offering for teaching, and I reduced the availability for new clients. It's a different story. I felt that something is coming, so I created actually space for something to come. Um, so I create that space. I'm very, very conscious about that. And I have an assistant, and I'm having a team that I can throw things on them to help me to do what I love and not to do what I don't love, which is
Mm,
the bureaucracy and emails and stuff like that.
mm.
But it's always finding the balance. And my kids are older now, so it's much easier, and there is more time to do that.
Easier with teenagers. Teenagers are tricky.
Yeah, no, it's the two girls. It's so far low key. Let's see.
Oh,
Let's see. Yes.
thank you so much for that. We could talk for hours, but
Yeah.
we won't today. People, how would you like people to get a hold of you or not? Will they?
They can go on social media on Instagram at Dr. Kalanit with Kalanit. I'm on LinkedIn and on Facebook, Dr. Kalanit Ben-Ari. Yes,
Yeah,
definitely be in touch, follow my work, and
yeah. So if you want to
if
know,
it's can, I have lots of online courses for therapists. For
yeah,
couples, I have amazing course online, 8 weeks, Awakening Love, that will take you all the
yeah,
things that I learned through the years. It's there.
yeah, that looks amazing. Are you going to be you're running that one now? Maybe the Awakening Love course, is that finished?
It was always live, and now I'm going to do it evergreen, so people can just buy an access and do it whenever they want
Oh,
to
perfect.
make it easy. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
so couples can buy that course. That sounds
And
brilliant.
doing it at their own home, and
Yeah,
yes.
brilliant. I've had a look at that. So have a look at that. So connect with Dr. Kalanit. You can find it Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Yeah, lots of resources. If you like what you've heard, I encourage you as a couple really to engage with Kalanit's work. I think it's extraordinary what you do. I think you're so beautifully talented at it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you very much, Lucy. Thank you.